Hello, how's everybody? This is Pierre Dura, of course, and we're gonna have I'm doing an ex-Jehovah Witness tape on. This one is going to be on. Oh, this is the first one. It's the first one. It's called. Let me see if I can get the name. Being an ex-Jehovah Witness. This took me a while to come up with, but I had help from my friend. What happened? Well, I must just say her name. It's so hard. I was thinking about how hard it is to find certain friends. I grew up in the '80s, and it was like so much easier. I mean, you got all the information on the internet, but it seems like I don't know. Everybody always says that, like in the olden days or whatever. But in the '80s, '70s, it was just because people didn't have their computers and stuff like that. I don't know what it is. I think because they have their computers all the time, they're thinking all the time, which I think is going to benefit us later on. But right now, we're going through like a transition. But in the '80s, you could like strike up a conversation, and it was like anywhere. But anyway, my friend, I might as well say her name because the thing about it, I was thinking, and she does have a YouTube channel. So her name is Penny, and it's just that she encourages me. And when I'm talking to her, I don't know, I get so many ideas because she's so intelligent. And there's so many things that, I would like to do some work with her together, but she's helped me a lot on this channel with her feedback, and she's a very nice person. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post her video that I'm gonna watch it over today, and then I'm gonna post it tonight. That's gonna be I after after I upload this, okay? And then when I get home, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna watch her video entirely, and then I'm gonna post it on this one on the descriptions because I talked about her. So, and I was thinking not to say her name, but the thing about it, she has a YouTube channel. So anyway, thank you, Penny, if you're watching. She says she watches a lot of the videos, and I appreciate that also. And I was okay. So now I'm getting into this being an ex Jehovah Witness, and this is going to be number one. And I was putting this together, but when I talked to her, um, just some of the things that she said made me really know that I was going in the right direction with this being ex Jehovah Witness. I'm sorry, excuse me. So, where do I start? The first one I wanted, the first one, which is number one, this one is going to be phobias and fears, phobia and fear, because that's the first thing that's one of the first thing I face. I got to get away from saying that everybody else is like this or whatever. But I know I know a lot of other ex Jehovah Witnesses, but not all of them had this problem because some of them had a little bit of support, which is very good. Um, but I'm almost sure that a great sum of us has had this fears and phobias. The reason why I call it fears and phobias is because if it's really, really bad and it stops you from doing certain things, I would I would call that a phobia. And fear, a collected fear of so many different things, it kind of adds up to me one big phobia. And one of the things I can tell you, one of my experiences from the beginning was I had a fear. One of my fears was the church, and I remember on my 30th birthday, I was in France, and I was there for a while. I stayed in PAU because I can't pronounce it. Everybody tells me I can't pronounce it right, but I call it Paul. But anyway, I got this. I got a friend. I had a friend there. Yeah, I had a very good friend there, and we would drive around. And one time we drove to this church, and he wanted me to go into. It was in Pays Basque. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but he said he was going to the church. I want to show you this church. It's really nice. And I was afraid to go in it I mean, I was absolutely afraid. It was like I couldn't go in it. I hate that. And I mentioned this before, but now I'm doing it in this context, but I could not go into the church. And it was very hard for me to go into churches, you know. One thing that got me to go into church, though, I was doing really, really bad. And they would give out like food, and I had to go to the church, and then I got used to it. But so that's what it was. I mean, like I could not go into church, and that was, I can say that was is edging on a phobia because it was something that I could have really enjoyed, and my friend that I was with me he really didn't understand what was happening to me because I was like I could not go past that door, and he went in, and I had to wait until he came out, you know. And it's funny because we also went to Saint Bernadette. Yeah, Bernadette, and that's in Lord. I think I'm pronouncing it right. And I remember feeling so comfortable, like surrounded by the church. And that was the weird thing about it is, because we went there, but he also went into that church, but I wouldn't go into the church. But I remember feeling so. She has to be real. I mean, this Bernadette because I remember where the people were getting the water on the side, and I was there, and my friend was there too, and although I had the fear, I remember feeling very, very, how can I say serene? I'm gonna look that up, but that's the only feeling. Just very nice, very. I don't know, something was just the whole feeling of the place. I really felt good because now when I remember it, sometimes we learn a lot of things when we go back, you know. And now that I think of it, I remember feeling a very good feeling there. But I hate that I didn't even go into that church either, which that messed up part of my fun. So I'll call that. I'm almost sure I'll call that a phobia. So, but it was a fear also, fear, phobia, you know. And so things like that. I had other fears. I had fear of a cross. Now I wear a cross. You know what I mean? Um, so I had a fear of crosses, and it took me a long time to be comfortable with the cross. I think I became comfortable with the cross when I got baptized Catholic, and that's when I. And the thing about it is, and everybody knows from my tapes. I mean, I would have never got baptized if I didn't feel that God wanted me to get baptized. So that was another thing. And that closed out a lot of my phobias and fears when I got baptized because it was something that God wanted me to do. And I like that it wasn't in the water. It was like your spirit, okay? And that's another thing. These are fears too. I was fear of just the Catholic Church, everything to do with it. And it was funny how I got to understand how the baptism works as far as, just being sprinkled or whatever, And because I did so much studying, I felt like my spirit was here, where I think and everything. So I could understand the fact that I was baptized there. So it was like my spirit was baptized, My body, from what I've learned, I mean, it's just a different thing. But these are my beliefs, and that I believe in strongly. So I'm just telling you that. But I listen to everybody, and I want everybody to listen to my tapes. So now we're getting into fears and phobias. So I just told you some of my fears and some of my phobias. And so I'm still talking about them. I had a fear that I didn't have a fear of cigarettes. I mean, I know that they were against, like cigarettes and stuff. I wasn't afraid of cigarettes. I never did drugs, though. I never liked drugs. And those are not things to fear or phobia. It could or it couldn't. It doesn't make a difference with that. Another fear I had was luck. I couldn't say luck. That's one thing I was feared. That took a while, and I would force myself to believe in luck and to understand it. Things like that. Demons, saying demon, that I still have a little fear of that. when I talk about demons, or when I talk about, wicked spirits and stuff like that, that I'm still working with. When I know that the people in the world, in the world that we live in now, the Christian world, they don't fear things like that because they grew up as Christian, and they know that they're protected. But I'm saying, being an ex-Jehovah Witness, you have these fears they're so in depth, it's so deep in you. You have to work. To me, you have to work with them sometimes one at a time. The reason why I say one at a time, because if you cover one fear, and this is being an ex-Jehovah Witness, if you get rid of one of them, it helps you to get rid of the next one, and then maybe you get rid of three, and maybe you get rid of four. So to me, it's like learning a song. You learn one song one at a time, then you can learn two songs, then you can learn more songs as you go along. So if you're really, first you have to realize that you do have fears and phobias as an ex-Jehovah Witness. If you're just coming out as an ex-Jehovah Witness and you think everything is fine and dandy, a lot of times you have to think about it, okay? Because anything can happen from day to day, and then all of a sudden you don't realize why you're not doing this or you're not doing that. And it could stem from the fears and phobias that were created in you as a Jehovah's Witness. And my friend, when I was talking to her, I'm not going to say what we were talking about, but I kind of could see in some of her conversations that and it states in her YouTube, so I can pretty much say I could kind of talk about it, but I'm not going to go in depth. You have to look at her YouTube. So I could see that they're lingering, but how are you going to know that you have these fears and phobias if you don't address them, or if you don't look for them, or if you don't think about them? So that's one thing I would say. First thing I would say is not, like ponder them, like I have to find out. But as you go through the day, or as you go through your days, just see how certain things are not, like normal. You know what I mean? Oh, when I think about this, or I can't do this, or I can't do this, why do I feel uncomfortable with this? Well, a lot of it could stem from the fears and phobias that you have had or have from, um, being a Jehovah's Witness. I didn't know how I was going to say that. So now that I've talked about myself, what are other things that can be fears and phobias? Well, a lot of things, like I was saying, it could also be like a cluster. It could be a cluster of different fears or phobias that you have. It could be, like I said, there's so many of them. So like when they're cluttered together and you don't really understand, you didn't really look at them yourself and didn't really think about them, they're existing, well, all together they could make up some other kind of fear or other kind of phobia. So what I'm saying is, like, it's something that you don't understand. Like, for instance, like, say if you have a hard time talking with people or getting to know people, certain situations, maybe at work or maybe at school, if you're going to school. Well, you could think about it. Well, why do I not want to connect with anybody at work? Why do I not want to connect with anybody at school? If you're going to school, and it could stem from a fear or a phobia that you have. Because remember, when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, we couldn't talk to people at work. We couldn't talk to just regular people. So, but say if we don't realize that we had that fear or we had that phobia, then we're doing it without knowing. We're like rejecting these people without knowing that we have the fears and phobia of our life. That we obtained because of the structure of the Jehovah Witness teaching. So that's another thing I can say. So, I mean, like, another thing is like, I think technology, this is how I look at it. If you see people who are like doing things without worrying, like for instance, I want to say this. I'm just gonna say random things. Like for instance, like going to the bank. You know what I mean? Using, how can I say, things like that. I mean, like just things with technology. Have you ever say if you don't use like the internet or something like that? But I have to say something else because that's so obvious. How else can I say? I mean, like the stock. Say if you have money and you want to use the stock exchange, or you want to learn about the stock exchange. Say if you want to learn something about how can I say, the United Nations or some governmental organization. I mean, things like that, which was hard for me also. It's like a fear or a phobia also, because it does hurt us, because people need as much help. We all need as much help as we can to bind together to make, the world a better place. So we have to aid in some of the organizations, can I say, or how can I say, and some maybe community help and things like that are governmental. But because we were Jehovah's Witnesses, we think that it doesn't matter, or we don't even think about it. To me, that would linger under a fear or a phobia. So you ask yourself questions. You can say, I mean, do I contribute to the community? I mean, do I vote? The reason why I didn't vote, I mean, I vote, but the reason why I didn't vote, because every time I voted, it was like the opposite person. So the only reason why I didn't vote, because I prayed about it very much so. And I know God, I mean, I believe in God, and I know God. But the thing about it is that I would always do the opposite. So it was like, well, God was like, this time I'll take care of it. Just, you don't vote, I'll make sure everything's going to work out for you. And it worked out perfectly. Exactly perfectly. So that was just a funny story. But anyway, so, oh yeah, listening to, certain things about war and stuff like that. I mean, it's just, it's things that people who grew up as Christians or regular religions, they don't even worry about. You know why they don't worry about it? It's because they grew up Christian, and God takes care of them, and they pray. And a lot of people you don't think pray. You know what I mean? I even think, I will go far as to say that people who say they don't believe in God, a lot of times they pray. I mean, you don't even have to know that you pray. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's another thing. So this is the one on fears and phobias. So sometimes just think about some of the things that you don't do comfortably, and see if the reason why is because maybe it might stem from some things that you were taught as a Jehovah's Witness. So this is Pierre Durr, and I hope everybody gets something off of this. This is my first being an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and I hope it's helped. And I'm gonna keep going with this. I even might do the same one if I find out more information about fears and phobias. I might do another one on fears and phobia. However, this is number 1. Thank you all very much, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.